o'clock mark because I really wanted to make sure that we had plenty of time. This is a lot of high-level information. I want to spend some time answering any questions that you all have so that we can specifically apply some of the things that we talked about to your business.
I have one that has happened to our firm fairly recently. You know these places like Marketplace and these like information gathering kind of sites, and they just plunk your firm in there and you have no relationship to them at all? We had one of those, and I can't remember which one it was, and I was Googling our name to see what's going on. One of these places said that we were a psychology company. We were a psychologist, and had our name, had our location.
Well, that's
everything's
just crazy.
It's just crazy. But that's very good.
Are you sure it didn't say we needed something?
Yeah. Well, okay, I was not gonna go there. But wow, I mean, that's pretty shocking. That's not what we do, and that's out there, and I'm not sure, one, how do you fix that, and two, how do you, we need to be thinking about that all the time. So as you're talking about, managing our product or real time or brand real time, wow. How do you get rid of that, and how do you get off those sites, or how do you make that better than that was?
That's a great question, and it happens, so you're talking about, so this is something that's like an aggregation of firms.
It's like
Yeah, it's just an aggregation site, they just pull
they call it Marketplace or
phone book
something like
listings
that.
and all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
Then they want you to pay to own your listing.
Ugh, that's so ridiculous. Okay.
But we're not psychologists, seriously.
But for many of us in this room, that particular scenario may never happen to us. But what may happen is, and again, going back to Google and Google Places. So for example, have you ever searched for something and then you see like if you're searching for Lawtonvilles and you see Lawtonvilles and then you see the map. Do you know what I'm talking about? That's your Google Places page. That is something which is operating very similar to what you're talking about. This is something that the search engines are aggregating all of this information, all of the data that's online, and putting it out there to be publicly available. You do have the opportunity to control that, specifically with Google, and I want to spend a moment talking about that because it applies to most of us in this room. If you have not already claimed your Google Places local listing, the second that you leave here, you go home and you do it, or back to the office and you do it. It's very simple to do. When you go search for your business, if you have not done it, you'll see a little notification that says either it's owner verified or do you own this site. It is pertinent that you do this. I have had clients who, somewhat similarly, have had competitors hijack their Google Places listing. I have had people include other complementary businesses. It is something that you are being foolish if you don't take 30 seconds to do that. If there is misinformation that's out there, the first thing that you need to do, and especially in this case where it sounds very clearly like it's a scam, if they're trying to get you to pay to do that, then that's a problem. But they should have the opportunity for free for you to be able to correct that listing. If you can't, where did that show up in your search results? Do you remember? Was it like 1 or was it like 30?
It was probably on the second page.
Okay.
I was looking at all of them to see what they look like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember that everything that we share, everything that's publicly available, remember we talked about the importance of content curation. Everything that we put out there influences our search results. If something is out there, and the flip side to that is every tweet, comment, post, etc. is out there forever. So don't ever post anything that you would not want to be in a permanent Google sphere forever and ever and ever and ever. But as a content curator, you have the opportunity to influence those search results. The more content that you put out, the more optimized content that you put out, those search results will continue to decrease. So you will never be able to get rid of it, but if it's ultimately on 15 of the search results, most of us as we're searching for things never go past the second page.
When we're talking about blog posts and
Yes.
blogging, does it always need to be, I'm a lawyer, should I always blog about law, or can I just blog about things I'm interested in? And what does that do? Because you're talking about being human.
Yes.
Do I only want to be human in my legal post, or can I also do other things?
It's really, there's not a right or wrong answer to that. It's your personal preference. And it also depends on what your goals are. So if you are blogging because you are trying to increase your client base within a particular demographic in this area, then yes, you want to be associated with the things that are related to your business. Keep some of the personal things for that 20% that we talked about for social media. If that is a part of you, but you also maybe have a desire to someday be an author, and you want to write world famous cookbooks and be on the Food Network, then then absolutely, share that personal side. There are very few instances where sharing your personal side will prevent people from doing business with you. Kind of the caveat that I always say, even though we talk about being human, is you have to be mindful of how people make buying decisions. So for example, if you are in an industry where if you have a very strong political opinions, and that may impact whether or not somebody would hire you, that's a taboo subject. Religion, those kinds of things, but that's a personal decision that everybody has to make. And again, it's going to be there forever.
I have a frequency question.
Yes.
As someone that is wanting to put our story out there but not annoy people with it.
Yes.
I mean, is there a minimum or maximum number of times that's too much or not enough to like post homeowner stories, or, I mean, where people aren't gonna quit following you because you're on there all the time, but I mean, is there a suggested frequency?
It really, yes and no. I'll give you a ballpark. I would say, for example, Facebook once a day. I would say Twitter 3 to 5 max. The reason you do it more frequently with Twitter is because you talk about real time. I mean, if you're following 1,000 people, the likelihood of your message getting lost is very prevalent. For blog posts, again, that depends on your business. I would say minimum once a week, ideally a little bit more based on what you want to do with your search results. However, this is where, remember we talked about being nerdy and geeky and all of those things that I just love. This is where this really comes into play. By paying attention to your data, you'll be able to really identify what's the right voice for you and your business. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you are posting, you do a homeowner story, and you have a link to that. Well, if you're using the right analytics, you'll be able to tell, okay, this particular post that was done at this particular time on this particular day received this many click-throughs. So this is something that's really working for me. But my 13th post that I posted this day, nobody clicked through. Well, then they're tired of you. So if you are using the right kind of data, you would be able to have a better understanding of what your voice is. So you tell me a little bit more about who your demographic is. Like, who would are you trying to get? I know it's a not-for-profit organization.
Issue, and then eventually
Donors, right? Exactly. But those are the kinds of feel-good stories that really help people understand what it is that you're doing. So you're like the prime example of that conversation that we had earlier today about that nice balance between information and self-promotion. By sharing the stories of what you all do as an organization, it's promoting who you are without being, hey, give me your money. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah, I just didn't know how often, just to shoot for.
Other questions? I'm not that good. So if you have questions later after you're processing all of this information, please feel free to reach out to me. On Twitter, you can find me at HLytle, and on Facebook, I'm also HLytle. You can email me. My website is hvmsolutions.com. Again, this presentation will be loaded there, so should you have any questions. But really, if you have questions, reach out, find me. This is a, it's not rocket science. It's not complicated. It really isn't. So for any of you who were raising their hands whenever we said, are you feeling a little overwhelmed yet? Spend some time living it and breathing it and acting on it, and I promise you that you will feel more comfortable. Beyond feeling more comfortable, if you pay attention to the things that we talked about today, you'll see the results. There's nothing more rewarding than having a new customer coming into your office and being able to know in real time that you directly influence that. And much more importantly, it costs you nothing to do that, right? Social media, it's not going anywhere. There truly has been this fundamental shift in the way that we expect to do business with other businesses. So the sooner that we wrap our minds around that, the sooner that we're able to really tap into that to grow our business.